Hey guys, it's Jim. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you're doing well. And if you're returning, thanks for coming back. I'm going to talk about something as opposed to specific features and how to use them in Luminar. Today I'm going to talk about something a little bit different, and that is a long time ago, really, more than a year ago, I believe, Luminar announced the ability to support plugins. And that's a really big deal. And I actually use plugins from Luminar from time to time. Not a lot, because as you probably know, I spend the majority of my time editing my photos in Luminar. But there are some other products that do things that Luminar can't quite do, at least as of today. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples of that. But I wanted to talk about this because to me, it's a really big deal. And the reason why is because it allows Luminar to really become the center of your digital universe from a photography standpoint. It allows you to effectively use it as your host program. Well, not effectively. It does allow you to use it as your host program. And that's a big deal. And so when their DAM comes out, and I don't know when it's coming out, so don't ask. I have no idea. I've only seen the stuff online that you've seen about the DAM, and I've heard nothing. So I don't know. But it is going to come at some point. And whenever we have that, it's really going to be a full-on Lightroom competitor from the standpoint of having that catalog or DAM or library, whatever you want to call it. But the point is, one of the key first steps of being a host environment is to be able to support third-party products. And so Lightroom does a great job of that. Photoshop does a great job of that, for example. And now Luminar does a great job of that. So let me jump into a photo, and here we go. Now, here's a photo. I've already edited this photo. This is just the 360 bridge here in Austin. I did like a 30-second exposure, so I got light trails going both ways. I even got a boat going across. And that's fully edited in Luminar, and I'm happy with the photo. But, and that's where the third-party plugins come in. I don't need third-party plugins to help me with colors or contrast or any of the kind of stuff that I can do in Luminar. But if I want different or creative alternatives, I need them sometimes, and they're really good. So all you do is you go to plugins, and you already know, I hope, that you can use the different Creative Kit apps. So Intensify, Tonality, Snap Heal, etc. You can get to all of those right there, but you can also get to other ones. So I've got the full studio of products, the full complement, the collection, whatever you call it, from Topaz Labs. I've used Topaz for years, and I don't use it very much anymore, admittedly, except for a couple of apps because I do everything in Luminar. Same goes with the Nick collection, which was owned by Google. It was actually an independent company. They got bought by Google and then sort of floundered and didn't go anywhere. And then late last year, DxO purchased the Nick collection from Google, and they're going to revitalize it, right? So sometime later this year, you're going to probably get a refresh of Color Effects Pro and Silver Effects Pro and things like that. And you know what? Those are really good products. I used them for years prior to getting into Luminar and Aurora. And in fact, I edited all my images in Color Effects Pro. It was my go-to external editor prior to getting into Luminar. I personally think Luminar is better, but that's personal opinion. But I still have all that stuff. And all you do is you just go to this menu, and if they're not listed here automatically, you just click on Other and click on Open Plugin. And then you'll go to your application folder, let's say, and you can kind of go through and see what you want, and then choose those and install them as plugins. And so I want to show you how that works. So once you set that up, just go to Plugins, and whichever one you want. I'm going to start with Topaz Impression 2. This is a great product by Topaz Labs, and it allows you to create paintings, if you will, out of your photos, right? And so there's a number of different things, and this is not a tutorial about how to use Impression. I actually may do that because it's a really cool product, but you have all these different options here. I chose Impressionistic, and so you can just come down. You see there's a number of different presets, effectively. And then just like any preset, you can click on it, and I'm going to choose Van Gogh simply because I'm a fan of Vincent and his work. So there, it creates a Van Gogh type painting out of your photo. You can click on the original, you can see where I was, and that's where I am. If I want to edit that, I just click in there, and I can change the brush stroke. I can do all kinds of stuff. I can change the color, the lighting, I can add a texture. I can even create a mask like that where I mask out the effect from whatever's inside that circle. So I'm going to turn that off, and I'm just going to go back, and let's say I'm happy with this and I like it and I'm ready to go. So I just say OK, and I click that in the bottom corner and give it a second, and it pulls it back into Luminar, just like it would if you were using it from Lightroom. And here's the cool thing, it comes in as its own new layer. So it says Topaz Impression 2 layer. And there it is. And now you look at it and you're like, all right, I can turn this layer off. There's my original photo. And here's my current photo with that impression painting on top as the top layer. Here's what's cool though, is you can still go in and edit that. You can say, I'm going to add some filters though. You know what I want? I want to add a little brilliance and warmth. I want a little more saturation. Hey Jim, I like your videos about color balance. I'm going to add some color balance. Let's just mess around. I mean, it's a painting, so you can't get accused of it not being that saturated in real life because it's not real life. It's a painting at this point. So, you know, I'm going to create some vivid thing. I'm going to cool it off. Maybe that's too vivid. Maybe for saturation, maybe I'll go into vibrance a little bit, bump that up. You just create whatever you want. Maybe in color balance, I want to move some of the colors around. Maybe I'll go to midtones, make it a little bluer, create a little bit more magenta. I'm just messing around. I don't have a plan with the photo, although it's a little too saturated. But again, it's a painting. So there you go. Now here's the cool thing is you can go in and add all these filters, and then you can say, hey, filters amount. You know, you can do that, and that'll adjust the intensity of all those filters across the layer. So there it is, my layer with the impression that came back from impression, the app impression, at 0, and then at 100 is all the adjustments I've made. The other cool thing you can do is adjust the opacity of the layer. So that's adjusting the opacity of how much of that impression layer is being visible, you know, instead of the photo that you started with. So there's the base photo, and then there's the opacity. So you still have all the beautiful power that you find in Luminar and its layers functionality, but you're taking advantage of the kind of cool stuff and interesting stuff you can do in Topaz Impression in this case. So that's one idea. Now, I'm going to delete that and go back to my base photo. Here's another plugin idea, which is Analog Effects Pro 2, which is part of the NIT collection, which I mentioned was formerly Google and is now DxO. And by the way, this one's free, so you do have to pay for the Topaz stuff, and their stuff, they got tons of products. They have like 20 different products, and they're really cool, but you got to pay for those. And I'll put a link down below, and you can also use my affiliate code, and I'll include that to save a couple bucks, and that'll make a couple bucks for me in the process. So if you do that, thank you. All the NIT collection by DxO is completely free for now. I think when they rev it, which is according to their website later in 2018, I assume that's going to be a paid upgrade. I don't know. They're going to have to make money on it at some point, but the cool thing about analog effects is, as the name implies, it's all analog. So it's like old grungy kind of film looks. So you have these old classic camera looks, and all you do is you just click on these, and these are presets. And then the different filters are on the right-hand side. And you can click here, and you can say, well, I want to look at the color cast. You know, there we go. Let's see what this looks like. Whoops, I didn't click on it. There you go. There you go. Excuse me. Maybe you don't want color cast. Maybe you want to do these motion, right? So you get these kind of fun blurs and different kind of looks. Again, it's all artistic, and that's really where I go. For me, Luminar is all about creating the look that I want for my quote-unquote real photos. But when I want to get experimental and artsy, I go elsewhere because these other filters or these other products are really good at being experimental and artsy. There's a toy camera, you know, so you can come in here and it has a heavy vignette. You can also just go over here and say, I just want to use their filters and build my own. So I want basic adjustment. I want some lens distortion. Maybe I want a double exposure. Maybe I don't want that. Maybe I want some light leaks or whatever. And same deal, you can just say okay, and whatever you've chosen and applied, when you click OK, it dumps it back into Luminar, and it sits on top just like the impression layer, but now it's an Analog Effects Pro 2 layer. And once again, you can add filters to it, change the opacity to get the look that you want. And that's how it works. So that's the power of plugins, and specifically third-party plugins in Luminar. So it's cool to go use Tonality or Snap Heal from Luminar, and you're probably already doing that if you have any of those Creative Kit apps, which are the old school sort of Mac Fun apps, part of Luminar and Aurora and part of becoming Skyloom. But you have all this other stuff, so you can get all these great apps from these other companies and use them as plugins to go create looks that you couldn't otherwise create in Luminar. And that's why I use them. And that's a quick video about using third-party plugins in Luminar. I hope that it helps. Hope you get something out of this. I'll put links down below if you want to go check out some of these other products. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching, my friends. Take care. I'll see you real soon, and adios.